Today we're just gonna go over some of the assignments from last week. So we're gonna have Natalie and Shake show off how they completed lesson two's assignments. So Shake, if you want to grab the screen, you can go through some of your levels.
Hey, can you guys see this?
Yep, I think you're good now.
Okay, sweet. So okay, yeah, let's just start with Fizzbuzz. Okay, there you go. So Fizzbuzz is this assignment like where you're feeding in numbers 1 to 100, and if it's divisible by 3, it prints Fizz. If it's divisible by 5, it prints Buzz, and if it's divisible by 3 and 5, it prints Fizzbuzz. So the way I implemented this is a combination of for loops, if statements, and this AND block. So the way this, essentially the flow of this code is the index is passed in, and it immediately divides that index by 3 and 5. And then it checks if they're divisible by 3 and 5. If it's divisible by both, it gets fed into this AND block. And if that AND block is true, it returns Fizzbuzz, meaning it's divisible by 3 and 5. If it's not divisible, this false block executes over here. So it gets to this if branch, and this only executes if it's divisible by 3, and then prints Fizz, and the same thing for 5. If it falls all the way through, so for example, like if you take 7, like it's not divisible by 3 and 5, so it comes in this block. Not divisible by 3, it comes in this block. It's not divisible by 5, it just prints out the index. So we can now go back here and then play it, and then we can see it print and then disappear. So that's Fizzbuzz. Now let's play one more time. So yay. So Fizzbuzz over there. All right. Let's see. I think another interesting project was this. The custom loops, and go with that real quick. So for custom, so I had to write a custom loop with a delay, because natively you can't just stop a loop and make it wait for 3 seconds or something. So you had to add that in. We do that is with a macro for the loop. I think I can open it for double click it. Okay, there you go. I did a macro with a for loop instead of a while loop, so it's a little bit more complicated. But I didn't change the entire structure. But essentially what happens is you have the start index and the last index that gets fed into this less than equal to sign. So that's how the for loop structure is done. But all I did was, so this is an assignment block where before it was directly going here and assigning the index, but now I added a delay between the signing. So the entire body stops before you assign this and then goes back in. I don't know exactly how to explain this properly.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one to explain, but that's the basic structure. That you gotta loop back before the next iteration, but then feed it through that delay node.
Yeah. I think the while loop implementation is like a lot easier to explain. I was just testing this. But anyways, back to event graph. So I have the way with the macro defined, the event begins, the last index, the for loop runs till the last index of items. And you can manually set the delay or have it like key through something else you want. But for now, it's like set at 1 second, like the instructions specify. So it comes through, gets the first index, gets that from the items. So I think this is an array of items. So passes that, gets just like regular programming. So items bracket I essentially is this block, and then prints that out. Yay. And it waits a second before every time the loop happens. Let's see what else. Do we want to do structs? So yeah, the structure was pretty simple. We just had to print out the component values, if you will, of each of these objects. So the way you do that is, I mean, I just print string, but so if I create like a vector, I do that. Oh, okay. Whatever the case. Maybe I can just drag it. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So you have this demo vector. The way you do that is that you can split struct pin to get these three values over here, and then you can even further split that. I think you could.
I think for the transform you can further split it. I think
Oh, you're
vectors are
right.
just x or just floats. So.
Yeah, the vectors I think it does stay the same because it's just like single float values. So transform, getter, split struct. You have rotation, location, and scale, and then we split the rotation more into its Patreon role,
Yep.
and then just print those out. Okay, so that's that. Let's see what else. Execution order.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did. Oh yeah, it's a function variable. So this is a very simple like den block. So this executes the first one, the one executes the second one, and third one. This is useful like if you're trying to like sequentially execute stuff. I guess so.
And it's also more than anything, I think the sequence block doesn't really have as much of a like exact parallel in like traditional text-based programming because it just executes like line by line. But this one really helps when you have like these big blocks of code and they're kind of independent, but they need to go in order. So instead of like taking that first block and then outside of that looping it back to second and then third, you could do that and it's like programmatically the same, but like visually this kind of separates them. So this one's more about like seeing that they have nodes that help you break apart the code and make it look better visually that don't really have a text counterpart as much.
Like I think the closest would be like a very long nested if else block, or like I like our try block maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we covered everything with like web enums. And this was simple. The enumerator was already created for us, but yeah, so you can just pass that in. You can set the ice cream level over here, like whatever you want, and then print that in. I mean, you could technically loop over it, but like I think the instruction just said to print one of them. So
Yeah, so since it's a single value, like a single instance of that enumeration value, it
yeah.
only has like one value, which would be like your favorite ice cream.
Yep. And for anyone watching, it's like vanilla. So yeah. All right. That's kind of the assignment 2.1. So Natalie wants to do the second part.
Yeah, so I think the main things to take away from this assignment is that like Blueprints programming, it is like a full programming language, and there are like a lot of parallels to text-based programming in like more traditional languages. But I think it's also important to see that like you can do those things that you do in text-based programming in Blueprints, but also to kind of just start to get the feel of like some things are different. So like doing a for loop kind of is like the formatting seems a little bit weirder in Blueprints, but they have some stuff in there to help you like format it better. So yeah. All right. So we can move on to Natalie showing the second assignment for this lesson.
Cool. So I just want to like bring up the assignment really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
So the assignment was to make a level that has a third-person character as a pawn and have a room or a house that has a door that opens when the player gets close. And once you walk in that house or room, there's a triggable light on 1 second after the door opens. and then in the house, the objects are destroyed when the player gets too close. I'm actually now reading that and realizing that I didn't do the 1 second thing. I did another like a trigger box. So I guess I'll show that, but that's not the assignment. So that one's a little bit different. Also, I was gonna ask Daniel, now that I hit some button, I think on my keyboard, and now everything is like, I think,
Yeah, the tries are drawn out.
what are they called?
Like the triangles.
Yeah, so I don't know how to get that to go away. I kind of have no idea. I like restarted it and then it's still like restarted still like this.
Yeah, no, you just hit some setting. I don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay, I was gonna just like look it up after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so for the first thing, I just built this wall because I was too lazy to build like a real room. So it's kind of just like 2 walls.
That's a room.
Yeah, it works.
It's a room.
And I don't know if I have to show you the code for the door. I just followed the lesson 2 that we did with Ben.
Cool.
So that's basically exactly the same. And I don't think I made it. I don't think you can walk out the door yet, so that could be something to do. Had extra time, so you just get stuck in the building when you go in there. But I guess I'll just play it and show you guys. So I'm gonna walk up to the door, if I can get there, and it opens. And then once you're in, how I set the light up is like there's a trigger box like right here.
Nice.
I can show you the code for that, but the light goes on, and I didn't turn it off because I thought that it should just like stay on, but I followed the tutorial where you can easily just change that to go off when you leave the trigger box. And then this is the chair that should be destroyed.
Boom. I like the effects.
So I guess I'll show the light. I think I followed a tutorial that was in part of the pre-lesson materials for the last one. It's the triggerable light video. It's pretty straightforward. You just make an empty actor in your level. So that's like this guy over here. And then you add a component of the light. And I set the visibility to be off like when you first play the game so that when you hit the box, it will turn on. But I guess like to make it more the assignment, you're supposed to do it on like a timing of 1 second. So that's where that's a little different. But so what I did here is I added a box collision, and I kind of set it to be like next to this couch just so I could like gauge where it would be when I was playing. And if you open the blueprint for that, it's just on component overlap. So when you walk into the trigger box, it sets the point light's visibility to be visible. And then this was in the video, if you leave it, then it would turn it off. So that's that one. And then this is the couch, but I didn't get that to work. So this is the blueprint for the chair, the destroy on overlap kind of thing. So what I basically did was just use the starter content for a chair, and then I made sure that in the details panel that you had to reset this collision to overlap with, I think it's actually supposed to just be only pawn, I don't know. Just make sure that those settings were allowing me to like walk through it instead of it blocking all collisions. I think that's the default. Yep. And then what did I do? And then they have this destroy node, which is really cool. So when your actor overlaps, what am I talking about? The chair, then this is where you get the effect from. This is also like starter content, like materials or particles, I think. Particles. And then you have to get the location of your actor, which is the chair. So that's why these targets are okay to just be like self, because it's just with the static mesh, like starter content chair. And then it destroys it.
Yep, that looks good.
That's all I got for that.
Yeah, I think we just wanted to kind of, with this one, show that you can have, I guess, multiple, I'd call them systems, all kind of interacting and just going off of events. I think that's a big part of kind of a difference you see in a lot of this like programming with Unreal. Things are very event heavy, and they kind of also exist in a 3D space, so you have to keep that in mind, like where they are and like what events are triggering what and how they're being triggered in 3D space. So that looked really good. Cool. So I think those were the only 2 assignments for this week, and those look great. So hope that this video helped.